Thanks for joining me for Life in Surround. Today is my review of An Hour Before It's Dark by Marillion, specifically the 5.1 version of the album. There are already copious reviews of the album simply musically, say on vinyl or other stereo versions, and this is Life in Surround, so my focus is on the 5.1 version mixed by Michael Hunter, who also did the stereo mix as well as arranging the album and really kind of like guiding the album in the role of a producer, recording snippets, jams, riffs, ideas from the band over quite a few months at least. And if my memory serves from watching the 80+ minute documentary, even over the span of a number of years. Some of these ideas have been brought to us from like the Sounds That Can't Be Made era, for instance. So, okay, we have An Hour Before It's Dark. I chose to go for the standalone Blu-ray version, and I just want to give a shout out to the band, to f.e.a.r Music, to Racket Records, to everyone involved in the marketing and like production decisions of Marillion albums, that this is a wonderful move to get a standalone Blu-ray. It's just such a wonderful thing for those of us who primarily are interested in a lossless surround version of the album. And I'll just compare to the release of f.e.a.r. If you see right over there, I finally obtained the SACD version of the album, which gives you a CD layer, gives you stereo SACD, and it gives you 5.1 SACD. And unfortunately, it's not exactly the same mastering as the deluxe DVD or the ultra deluxe Blu-ray of the album, but it still is a pretty good listen. But in any case, back for f.e.a.r, the only way to get the Blu-ray surround version of the album was to get the ultra ultimate deluxe version, and at the time it was expensive, and now people are trying to fetch, around $1,000 in some cases for that thing. I can't think of any album, no matter how high up on my list, for which I would be willing to spend that much. So this time out of the gate, you can get a CD DVD deluxe version, you can get an ultimate deluxe version signed by the band that includes Blu-ray, plectrums, otherwise known as guitar picks, additional artwork, postcards, USB with a high-res version of the album, and vinyl, and large format artwork book, so you can get the Blu-ray that way, or you can get the standalone Blu-ray. I got this for under $20, delivered in just over a day, and you can also just get the CD version. So there's a variety of packages this time. They've made the lossless surround version of the album affordable, and that just deserves some praise and some thanks. Alright, so we've kind of discussed a bit of the value of the album, so I'll go into the Blu-ray because that adds to the value here. You get the 6 songs from the album proper in high-res, lossless stereo and 5.1. You get a 12-inch remix of Murder Machines, which I really dig, by the way. You get a performance video of Murder Machines with a standard 5.1 mix. And you get, like I said earlier, an 80+ minute documentary of the album. So that gives you an idea of the value that this Blu-ray is packing. Oh, not to mention high-res lossless stereo and surround versions of instrumentals for the entire album, all 6 songs. And I feel like Hogarth's lyrics and vocals are a vital part of this record, but it is nice. I did put the instrumentals on in the background. You can get connected with the intricacies of the musical arrangements when you drop an element that's as important as a lead vocal. There's some exposure there. So I long-term wouldn't want to listen to just the instrumentals of this record. These weren't written as instrumentals, and you do need Hogarth's melodies and that human voice with those words that have meaning. And one of the things that I like best musically about this album is Ian Mosley's drumming. He is on fire on this record. He is full of vigor. He is upbeat. He's polyrhythmic, very intricate ghost noting, and serving the songs. He's not overplaying, but he is playing with a tremendous amount of interest. And if I can borrow from the late great Neil Peart, that the point of music isn't to KISS, keep it simple stupid, it's to MUSIC, make up something interesting and complementary. Let's take a look at the mix here. We see the 6-channel mix of the opening track here, and you can see that nothing has been squashed overly with dynamic compression. The fronts are considerably more showcased than the surrounds, and we have an ample center channel and a fairly easy does it LFE. So sonically, this album is very pleasing to me. It doesn't produce any ear fatigue. I could crank it to where it was just rockin', and I felt like in touch with the lighter parts of the album and the heavier ones. This is a tame mix. It is, according to Michael Hunter's normal style, where to borrow a phrase from Blade Runner, I would call this a rap job, where the main focus of the album is on the stereo fronts, and then you're going to get the album kind of expanding out into your room, wrapping around you. That's why I call it a rap job. And then occasionally you have moments of interest punctuating or favoring the surrounds. I'll give you a brief example from the opening track here. Some tracks that make it clear that the pandemic, the lockdown, COVID-19, this last couple years that anybody watching this has survived, definitely made an impact. And Murder Machines is one example, and Care, the final track on the album, is another example. And both of those tracks have like a tremendous amount of personal connection for me. Murder Machines, how it says, "I put my arms around her and killed her with love. She put her arms around him and killed me with love." Not only does that phraseology have many different meanings and layers, ranging from killing somebody by hugging them and transmitting COVID-19 to them, and killing someone with love, like hugging someone else, signaling that they are no longer your lover. But in the literal sense, the couple of years that we just went through, I lost an uncle. I don't know how literally it happened because of being hugged, but COVID-19 was transmitted to him, and he died a few weeks later. So I find that song just to be extremely personal and also powerful. It has a tremendous, strong melody. It's upbeat. It's musically extremely interesting, and I find it to be, for many reasons, a high point of this record. And then, like I said, Care, which finishes up the album. I have an aunt who is in respiration therapy in the medical community, and it's just so interesting to me to just get these anecdotes, what it was like to be in an ICU and improvising equipment, trying to save people's lives. Care in the artwork of the album is in some ways dedicated to nursing staffs around the world who were fighting to save people's lives and staying up just unknown hours, and with fatigue and with all the problems going on in their own lives. And So again, that's extremely personal for me. And the lyric that says that angels on earth are not found in church walls. They're found in hospitals. And it reminds me of one of my favorite recent TV shows, Afterlife by Ricky Gervais, where one of the characters in the show makes that point to the main character who's struggling to find his purpose after losing his wife to cancer. And she reminds him that, your wife wanted you to have a purpose, your wife wanted you to be happy, your wife wanted you to be yourself and to touch other people. And she used this point that angels on earth really are people who seek to help others and maybe to leave this earth a little bit better than they found it. And so that comes back to, a strong theme of this album. An Hour Before It's Dark seems to me to be a reference to that final hour that you have, that final day that you have to live. What would you remember? What would you try to experience for the last time? What would you try to enjoy for the last time? Who would you want to talk to? Who would you want to make sure that they know that you love them? And the album references that in the first track and in the last. And I love that thematically these songs refer to each other. It can at times make it feel like a concept record. I appreciate so much that this record is concise. It's 14 minutes shorter than f.e.a.r, and it's just a wee bit longer than my preference for a record, maybe by 10 minutes. Attention span and just quality control, I really do prefer those classic LP lengths of around 40 minutes. But yeah, you have a band putting out some upbeat and some somber material, a nice pacing, a wonderful collection of 6 songs plus a remix here. It is an album of its time. It's an album that speaks important and maybe even healing messages to me. Things that I care about that I've been through the last couple of years. And in my opinion, musically strong, melodically strong, sonically strong, average mix. It does sound great both in surround and in stereo, just not very exciting from a surround perspective most of the time, with some occasional exceptions. Like the beginning of Murder Machines is also like pretty cool. This image, this album cover, does it represent a clock? Does it represent a virus? Digging deeper into this album, including its artwork, the answer is possibly both. Whether by pandemic, a virus, an accident, old age, or even a mass extinction event, the end is coming for us all. Is the end approaching for Marillion? For me? For you? What will we think? What will we feel? What will we do during our final 24 hours on this earth? And especially an hour before it's dark.